If you tuned in during week 2 of regionals, you most likely noticed that Space Group was the most featured line across all regions. If we take a look here, 107 games, and this does not even include all the Samira and Ornn 2 tanky games, so we're looking more at a game count of about 170. And while this is the default to go to when you have that Space Group emblem, which is why this emblem augments were so predominant, in my investigations, I noticed that a lot of players also found this as a default line from many different kinds of spots. Therefore, as I summarize how we can navigate into this line from many different kinds of spots, and when the players thought it to be correct, we're going to be jumping in game with the NA Regionals champion Kai Wang right here in an Evelynn and Yasuo game, playing in the scouting party for a potential to scout for these very strong augments. Let's quickly go through our stage 1 and then see when we have an opportune moment to speak about it. Currently, we're opting to hold onto this Jinx. Definitely, the Jinx reroll was one of the most stable top 4 comps. Also gives you opportunity to play around that Anima. Cho'Gath and Lissandra playing into that opener as well. And we have now the decision to make. If we're opting to hold onto these Primordial units, or do we want to be playing around the Vanguard opener? Since we only seen a couple of components, we should be getting at least, I believe, 2 more gold coming in here, so we should be able to hold on to both of these units if we wanted to. Exactly, that's gonna happen. And our slam right now would most likely be Stoneplate, a prime early game slam. For your tempo purposes, we have that open bow, which is quite flexible. For our augments first featuring here, good for something, has been nerfed too much, and still decent in these lose streak matchups if you wanted to. Flowing Tears, there's not a comp really that features that many tiers, would be more likely leaning into AP line. This is great when there's someone who can utilize blue buff and you have the ability to be going for heavy casting in the early game. Catered crafting better in your heavy component starts, or for example in a Kale game. We're going to be doing a scout around the lobby. See, Patience is a virtue, which is one of the stronger reroll augments. Also great for those 1 costs when you can utilize it right on the start. Makeshift armor, decent if you have the tempo options. Shield Maiden. We have the Titan Slam, but this was only featured once by Dasik, who wanted to secure a top 4, and you have to have heavy tempo. Did we even sell our Leonas? I believe we might have. Quickly here, we had also the opportunity to go for a slightly magical roll. A lot of players value it quite a lot. I think this is best from tempo spots where this roll of HP is not that worse. Tiniest Titan, only plick this if you have Anima already. Iron S as generic option to be plicking, and this gives us 6 free rerolls, right? Could be used for tempo purposes. Just 12 gold and raw reroll value is quite nice, but it's always not going to be as strong as just pure raw gold, since you cannot make these econ intervals. Just a option that could also potentially provide you with direction. It has the high roll of the spatula, for example, as well, and then we could figure out something from there. Not exactly keen to be making 10 gold here, wanting to hold on to this Briar, obviously. Have to have some investment into holding for the potential of the strongest board, so perhaps should not have sold all the units we had right there, just for the possibility of maybe, you know, stringing together some kind of a board. Thankfully, it seems that the lobby seems to be trying all tempo, so we might be in the fine spot to be securing this loss streak. Would ideally obviously find this Belvet now to be slotting in Primordial, nicely fits our board, and just trying to get some gold going. It's a silver game, so the tempo overall of the lobby should be lower, and the econ thresholds as well. So if we're able to generate any kind of extra resources, we're going to be gaining a significant advantage compared to something like the gold and the prismatic opener lobbies. He seems to be defaulting here already to this scouting lobby, noticing that maybe LeBlanc is an open. A lot of players were hot on the LeBlanc, and well, this led to 3-way contests, and if you know, 3-way contests, you never do that thing. This is just, you're griefing your AVP a lot at the 4-cost line. And we also see that there's a Space Group player right here. But we found that Ornn going to be holding on to it and opting to sell just to outsack this player right here. Well, they have the dashes too, so they have pretty decent of a potential, but Cambio lead there might also be perhaps playing for that loss streak. We did not see the future for our board there since we didn't have that Belvet. And immediately snap picking Cosmic Hex. Well, this is amazing for any kind of rerolls. We have this Ornn. This is one of the ways you're going to be getting into this line. So let's talk about how other ways. Well, one way is that when you don't have this emblem, you have strong combat augments, bodyguard training, ascension, climb the ladder, everything that features into this stall type of game style is amazing. Cosmic Hex to buff up this Ornn from the start, also amazing. Ornn with exactly the Stone Plate and Warmog's build, and the last item you can be Spirit Visage or Heart of Steadfast. Whether you have Stoneplate and Warmogs, this Ornn with is going to be a stronger tank than your TK2, for example, especially due to the Space Groove healing that he inherits from here. Opting also not to hold on to these Space Groove units right now, just wanting to make these econ thresholds very aggressively. We probably have to make this Ornn 2 down now. That would have the potential maybe to stabilize our board a little bit on stage 3, as we do not want to be bleeding out too many lives. Otherwise, Anima players opted to play around Anima and opt into this line as a cash out. A little bit more cheaper to stabilize on your hand, pick up the pieces a little bit more easily along the way. Still have potential to use AD items, as for example Riven can utilize them. Spiking of Riven will touch upon the variation, how you can approach the board without Emblem. But yeah, Anima and artifacts, strong artifacts, something like the Auris, or strong artifacts for Ornn, allowing you to guarantee that you get a Radiant Stoneplate or Warmogs. That's why also emblems, generic emblems, something we saw a lot of players play this from as Timebreaker, Bastion emblem, for example. Without a Space Groove emblem, this is a way you can opt into this line, as you can utilize a lot of emblems, also the Rogue emblem, obviously. For you or something like a Blitzcrank, not the most ideal, but it's something you can be playing around. And also, but touching up with the mech line, for example, for ASO, you definitely want that deed cap for this comp. You truly really only need one rod. You get that JG, make those Nasher 2s, and it's a cheaper board to stabilize under the mech board, a little less flippy, but does not have as high of a cap, for example. Then for your flex slot, when you do not have the emblem, you have the possibility to be simply slotting in a Bastion unit already on your level 8, and not play around that Riven, especially if you don't have the items, but Riven can be a fine flex. You can also slot in a Morgana in that free slot. Can do some cheeky variation of where you also cap around some Mira and Jhin rather than this Gwen, but for our last selection, restart mission from this kind of spot would actually be absolutely insane. We do not have that many units, our board is cheap, but this one too has been scaling, so we just kind of click this. If we are playing into the Space Rule, which we believe we have committed now by the team planner as well, we're going to be going into it. Misconnections, generic Econ Augment, especially if you wanted some one cost, we have the potential to fit in 3 Space Groove. 3 Space Groove is an extremely strong breakpoint to be playing around. You definitely, whenever you're playing a Space Groove unit, want to have that 3 Space Groove in if you're trying to tempo. Damify, we don't have as many units, otherwise, you click this, able to stabilize here on this board if you have something like a Brawlers to buff up, especially a little bit more HP on this Damify, and then play out from there. Group Hug, we are planning to play around Shen, but this one is going to be our solo frontliner, so you might not get as much value from it. Otherwise, also a decently generic the combat option. Corrosion, we are playing a stall comp. Space Grove is a stall comp, so this plays into that archetype quite well as well, but I believe in our spot, we are looking to try not to spike exactly on the stage, I would believe, so Misconnections just as an econ option, which is one of the better ones, is quite appealing in this moment. Charge Transfer is quite good because Nami can overkill, and 7% damage over amp shouldn't be overlooked. Healing Orbs is great also for the solo frontliner, just keep your Ornn even more durable, and we have 2 rerolls here behind us, so we might just actually default either Healing Orbs or Charge Transfer. Now, with a stall comp, you want to keep our Ornn alive, so maybe Healing Orb is going to be quite appealing. Otherwise, it's quite decent in these melee augments. Electro Charge, also another good one whenever we have these Giga Tanks. Quite appealing, you can see. He's a candy picking. Are we going to be rerolling? Mordog has always said that we were bad whenever we were offered with so many rerolls. And we were actually making the suboptimal augment choices by the stats whenever we had them available. Well, now they only have the internal ones, right? But we're going to be going with the Healing Orbs, trying to get this one alive. He's going to be stacking a lot of HP, so this is going to be our win con. Make a strong front line, and then hopefully have this Nami items lined up. We're also saving our Anvils on the bench. Still opting to lose streak and have dropped down already to 49 HP, which is quite weak. And our econ situation is not looking that strong either. We're definitely leaning onto this loss streak. Now the upside could be that we are on the streak, and we do not have a raw gold augment. Neither does much of the rest of the lobby, and obviously we made a heavy investment into 1-2, which is a drastic investment to make in stage 2. But we should assume that the rest of the lobby is not that as rich. And if you are going to be poor, you hope that the rest of the lobby is also poor. That means if you have these extra resource generators, you're going to hopefully have enough gold to be stabilizing on Solar Hex. Amazing. Yasuo, I just love playing around the Space Room in Yasuo. The Mana Hex is also great, and the Solar Hex is just busted in my opinion, but we might value that. We might want a little bit more gold from this 3-star 1 cost. Also, try to stabilize our board finally. Try to save some HP. And this would also prevent us from having to obviously invest components into the anti-heal, but he's going to be going with the Solar Hex, just valuing how strong it is. Picking up a half of our, I believe it was, picked up, well, Cloak for half of another Stoneplate, then yeah, double Stoneplate is also a very strong build that you can be going for. Also, this gave us Taumkench, which now would align with the proc with our roll. And we're going to be rolling here a couple of, well, using our free rolls to try to stabilize our board, and immediately hit a Shen. I was like, alright, this is going to be enough, I suppose. 5 gold invested, got the Shen. That is amazing high roll from ourselves. Obviously, we're going to be gaining a placement we have in these top tier lobbies. I have to just simply high roll a little bit. And now we have completed at least a Nashers and a one single JG and one single Nashers. Playing around Shojin is completely fine as well, especially if it allows you to tempo an earlier game. I just recently, for example, played a game of this Space Group line where I heavily just indexed on combat augments, picked bodyguard training, picked ascension, and then gilded steel is also another great one, especially if you high roll blitzcrank from it. Just the durability onto this board is amazing, and then you just play around something like Lysandra in the early game, right? You replicate Lysandra together with that Pantheon, playing around like something like a Cho'Gath, or you can play around the Shepherds. There's many ways you can navigate into this line without having to go for that full loss streak, but something like the mech might indicate just because of how many resources you need. Nonetheless, we are here from a full loss streak spot at 17 HP, and this is one of those spots where you'll be like, well, I kind of want to be pushing already on 4-1, but we are poor. We are piss poor at this point. We have the Golden Dupe, which is a nice sight that we might be able to stabilize. And our front line should be quite fine with this Taumkench too, but they're going to be rolling, and we have some of these free rerolls that we have stacked up, but we do not have that much roll gold. Thankfully, find a single Nami immediately slotting that in. Do not have another replicator, so have to be carrying around this Lysandra for a while now. Complete another Stoneplate, complete the Shojin here, which is fine. Keep the glove open. Can become a steadfast or like a TG for your Blitzcrank. And also, speaking of Blitzcrank, if you have this free slot, if you're a Giga High Roller, you can play another Blitzcrank in this last slot as well. So if our gauge is correct, the lobby is going to be quite big. We just fought Marcel, who seems to be sacking, so he's in the prime spot to be pushing. Maybe there's Bayesian also could be considering sacking. We are hoping, because we can see here the malicious methodization could be quite useful for us to rebound our gold. Clock of Accelerator, generally I'm not a fan of. Space Groove also gives you attack speed, but it theoretically works in stall comps. Otherwise, I haven't seen this augment really clicked. Tons of stats. We also gaining stats from our trait, if I'm not mistaken, right? And just a generic combat option. Earth, we don't have an open tier. This is one of those spots where on 3-2 and 4-2, I would be fine with clicking Earth if I had an open tier to make this Space Groove spat. On 2-1. Whilst the line is so strong that you might make a case for it, but you're going to be sacrificing tempo, sacrificing a component. It's a lot of investment, and this is why you also, a lot of times, say you just commit to this line and then bot 4 from it. Plot armor, we have this already, a million resistances onto the Sword, and we have the HP scaling for him. I don't think we want it. We check our Taumkench, but it is going to be a Samira too, maybe not exactly what to see. Arcane Victory, also quite appealing in a stall comp, can be a strong combat option. Heroic Grab Bag, obviously for your rerolls when I'm placing the set, but he's defaulting on malicious monetization. We just want some form of an econ, I assume, and we're going to be evaluated. This one has been stacked so long, and we have the Shen, that perhaps we're going to be strong enough, able to find a Pantheon, gain a little bit more HP buffer, holding on to this Morgana, immediately giving up on this Morgana. Morgana comes back, going to be opting to sell her, holding on to these Gwens. Still seems to be our plan is going to be to transition into perhaps a Riven carry later on, but the Shen is going to be completely fine. You can play a Rammus in his stead until you make it to that to the Shen on level 9, just to stabilize. And also Rammus 2 can be a potential out for you to hold on to. Just a very close fight here. The Solar Hex comes in clutch. We're able to clean up, and we are playing for pretty much every life. We can take a 1 loss completely fine, and we find Taumkench too, but I would assume that he's going to be competing items here. We could also, yeah, we should have just put this glove on Ornn already earlier. We have the removers and just force out the Radiant Gargoyles. I missed it. He missed it for a couple of turns. It's fine. You just do this whenever you have the potential to spike out the Radiant item. As a Radiant item at least is valued in a couple of items, so gaining the extra third item is not going to be as valuable. And now we are against the Wigbug here, who seems also to have missed on his reroll, so nice for us to pick up even though it was only a couple of units. Evelyn, we still want to be chasing that Nami too, so well, this would be great. We are Well, malicious monetization really got nerfed to only work a couple of rounds. I will have to check. However, cryogenic hex is something that is amazing for this, or now we should decide, are we going to be going for this double front line? And if we are playing around these such strong hexes, we have aligned our results, Yasuo might as well pick up another one. Again, this is a stall comp, and we have the Tom Kench dude that can utilize it right now. Able to fight a Nami from our god selection, so we could, if we had had this foresight, we might have just ripped out a dupe and then picked up Evelyn, right? But hindsight is hindsight. See if the rest of the lobby is mostly also aligning with Yasuo just due to the hex quality. Yeah, going to be ripping out the dupe. So I'm interested to see where are we going to be placing this cryogenic hex. Are we going to maybe move one over? Could I open up for potential wraps? No, we're just going to be dropping it there on the Tom Kench. Alright, it's going to be fine. Provide us even with more stall. Playing there against the Leona print who has played around that Karma. Did not seem to have the angle to transition into the LeBlanc perhaps. But Soju here, he's quite rich still. Even with the Karma to 30 gold, they're quite healthy, so he could be making for a level 9 cap and maybe cap around the Sona and Bard duo. He also has slotted in Jhin here, as you can see, right? Playing around that Samira and Jhin, but we find a top Kench Princess, actually. The Blitzcrank, which is absolutely amazing for ourselves. So now we just try the position to knock out their mob tanks, and he seems to be crashed. Alright, we're back in game. Just seemed to be a little monetary cash. Maybe he tapped out of this game. We are back and rolling, and against our ghost fight of the Space Group player shouldn't be too much of a problem because, you know, they say the ghost fights are fine, but they are not exactly fine. This could be a TG and down our Nashers, and no, not going to want it. Like, what are we missing? We have an anti-healer missing. Shred. We are missing Shred. We definitely want to be picking up Shred for our board. So that's probably what we are fishing for here. Just going to take this. So I would assume Spark QSSS. Going to move the Spark onto the Urn for now and the QSSS on the Blitzcrank. Yeah, that makes sense. But did we just kill the remover for no reason? Or we had the glove there. Never mind. Or we had moved the cloak. I don't know. Whatever. We are now in a prime spot to just still like to push level 9. We have the Morgana primed to be pushing it. We can probably level in a couple of turns. Just a little wary as we lost around there. We have to be, I mean, there's nothing we can really roll down for. And this is the part of the Space Group line. It has the potential to cap around these 2-star 5 costs. But whenever you're entering stage 5 here with some of these, you know, you have your 1-4 cost, especially without the ribbon. This is the tricky bit. So he's going to be very aggressive here, going off the interval just to slot in this Morgana. Perfect gold worked out. Are we going to keep the Morgana, or we're going to actually put the ribbon and just 15% attack speed? Maybe we're going to value it, and yeah, we're going to do so. We want some form of a secondary damage carry. If you have more items, obviously the Blitzcrank is completely fine as an AP holder, right? But for now, he does not have that much juice into him, and we're playing against this Leona board. Has this level actually been a diff? This is a very extreme close. The new ult came into the last second, but the Nami follows through. I believe the Solar Hex is working overtime here, providing that extra damage onto this Nami, especially when you have a single concentrated carry like her. Opening the slot in Rast. Rast is also that's something that a lot of players have experimented around. I believe the DR is a little bit stronger, but the attack speed is quite nice. That Proton upfront attack speed, providing a little bit more damage for ourselves and the resistances, even though we are overlapping on stats, which is something you generally want to be avoiding. So against Soju here, who has made it to that level 9, but his board doesn't really seem to have improved apart from getting the third item onto the Karma right there. So not exactly sure what his game plan is right now. Karma is just struggling to deal with these solo frontliners due to her damage profile being more of a AoE splash, right? She needs some kind of single target support. That is why she works well with something like a LeBlanc. There is a Fast 9 player here with the Vex to Marcel here, so he's going to be a lot of trouble for us. Thankfully, he's still on Nunu 1, but the Nunu does have a double protective vow, so the Nunu ult misses. That is crucial for ourselves. Our Nami didn't get hit. Our own Gust hit back a little late because now our Nami is working on the backline. The positioning here was the key, and the Nunu ult not landing on our Nami allowed us to secure this win. But this Marcel, once he reaches his cap, is going to be quite of a threat for ourselves. We're getting these lower cost upgrades now as well coming online, but if he hits that Nunu to as more players open up, the Nunu is going to be tough. We can see Todi here also playing without the emblem into the Space Group line. Has opted to go for that front line, the Cryogenic Hex as well. Interesting, we moved that Nasus there for a second just to maybe protect our Blitzcrank a little bit more so he doesn't get the immediate reset right there. Still going to receive some splash for the Nami right there, but again, we're fighting him in a ghost fight, so I wanted to see us go to toe-to-toe as he has the crashless dummies, which is also a nice combat augment for this Space Groove line are working quite well. We're still opting to dig quite aggressively, as there's a lot of players who want to be fishing for this Blitzcrank, and then we can slot in Bard, maybe we should Elder Dragon. Yeah, if you're going to have a free slot, hey, Elder Dragon is going to do it, but we have noticed that we're not playing around the... Well, the Riven comes back as soon as I wanted to mention her. We do not have items for her, so we're generally not playing around here. Tom Kench is working overtime now. We're finding Riven too, so now we can look to transition items onto the Shen, yeah. And, well, for our last slot... Okay, Sunfire, he has some HP scaling, but we have this Solar Hex. Well, maybe this is going to allow us to spread it just a little bit more. Not sure if we're going to be valuing it. Evasions, Nunu does hit our backline. He has still from line from this Leona, but you can see even with the combat augments on his side, this Space Groove line is just extremely strong, and the sword has reached a lot of stacks. By now, a lot of stacks. He is very strong, and we're still confidently pumping into him with the cryogenic positioning that we have right now. So now, are we going to get the real fight against Dodie? Again, moving the last second here, this Pantheon just to try, seems to protect this Blitzcrank right now. Now, I would imagine his Blitzcrank might go on our Tom Kench right here. Yeah, exactly does so. And they also eats up these... trashes dummy a little bit there, but our Ornn, I believe, is just going to be stronger due to the itemization differences, and we have that Shen too that has that attack speed scaling. Still, nonetheless, a close fight that we're able to pick up, and this is a very close top 4 now. Marcel is capping here. You can see that Karma 2 coming in right away as well. He has reached that Sora 2, Bard 2. Does he have the front line to sustain? Now we are a stall comp again, so this burst plan with the weaker front lines might not be exactly in our favor, but he has that Nunu too, and he has positioned Nunu exactly on this Pantheon here. Now, interesting, right? This is another observation to make about Nunu right now. The fact that he's going to be landing his first noble on his current target, so we're dodging kind of the AoE from our Shen right now, and it did not seem to roll here. We have created the maximum path here for the most units to be hit is this line, so that our Nami keeps safe. That is another positioning trick, and this Nunu has been hard to figure out, but the more you pay attention, the more you're able to learn. Again, we're able to make it to the backline, and this is going to come down to Vire. The Vex simply only having the Rage Blade didn't have the damage, and we were able to pick up a win, a crucial that has allowed us to potentially sneak into a top 2 from this, but seems to be a quite desperate and directionless spot apart from directionless. We had the Ornn too, but a tough spot, and now we are able to finally, on our final roll, find a Blitzcrank 2. Going to value Giant Slayer over the Crown Guard. Crown Guard is also a prime item for this Blitzcrank. Now we find that Dodie's Ghost shouldn't be an issue. He's still on Blitzcrank 1, even though he has the item advantage also, but the Lightning Jewel, which is just raw AP, a lot of item, he's going to be dying to Marcel. And we got the way of positioning once. Now Marcel also has found Blitzcrank 2. There's not much we can do to increase the cap of our board, as we simply do not have that many items. Let's see where he keeps his Blitzcrank this time. Now we're going to be moving our Pantheon back as it's Blitz 2, and perhaps we're valuing. Now we're going to be able to aggro onto Nunu, but the Nunu is going to come in before the Blitzcrank is able to do the knock up and hit our Nami. The Bard is going to be receiving a lot of AoE value as we're clumping around this Ornn, and the Vex has received another item, but this is just going to be a rundown for ourselves. Our damage got lost early on due to the Nunu ult, and we were not exactly able to outcap this board anymore. By all means, very nicely played game by Kayobang, displaying how stable this line can be and how you can approach it even from different angles. We touch upon how we can do so, what things truly enable this line, and I hope that you were able to pick up something new, as a lot of top players were very hot on this line, and it's quite straightforward to approach once you realize how many different ways you can navigate into it. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.